Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Cox, and I was not driving down the streets of Oak Cliff, Dallas, Texas this afternoon, and I did not pull over on the side of the road to shoot this important video, as you can see behind me. Reason? It's 109 degrees outside, and my Fairlane does not have air conditioning in it, so here we are in the studio today. So sorry about that piece of it. What had me thinking today, and what made me want to record this video today, I was thinking about why people are so angry and frustrated now, especially when compared to, 30, 40 years ago. I went to high school in the 80s, started college in the 80s. And comparing that generation or that time really to current times, things are obviously very, very, very different. Now, you think about back in the old days when I was a kid, if you were into some kind of weird shit, whatever that weird shit happens to be, doesn't really matter, just if it wasn't part of the mainstream, chances of being able to find someone else that were into that same weird shit as you were pretty slim. And depending how weird the thing was you're into, maybe not at all. So you ended up having to keep it to yourself. It was your little secret. Compare that to today with social media, internet age, but especially social media. You can get online, and before I'm done speaking this sentence, you can probably join a club for whatever weird shit you happen to be into. Now, when I talk about weird shit, I don't care what it is. You can do whatever you want as long as it's not hurting anyone else. So don't miss the message of this video, please. So today, people can get online. They can validate whatever that thing is they're into, whatever the weird shit is, whatever. It can be validated in an instant. And that's very different than it was 30 or 40 years ago. And it sounds like a positive thing, but is our brain wired to work that way? Now, here's what I mean. Back in the day, if you had that weird thing that you were into and you knew you had to keep it to yourself out of fear of repercussions or ridicule or whatever, then it was your own little secret. And if it was something that you wore under your clothes, for example, or just something that you were into that you knew you were into it, but you knew nobody else was, you kept it to yourself. And that creates kind of an endorphin rush to your brain. So you feel this excitement. You know you're doing something naughty or different or subversive or whatever, and you know that all these people are around you, but they have no idea. So it's this rush. You're doing something different, and you're kind of sneaking about it. Now, if you compare that to today, where people can go online, especially on social media, and have whatever weird shit they're into validated, then it's validated on the spot, within seconds, if you're quick enough. And then, and it seems like that validation has evolved into frustration and anger because the masses aren't accepting whatever it is that you're into. And then that frustration and anger turns into a demand for not just acceptance, but even celebration sometimes. Like there are people demanding that you celebrate whatever weird shit they're into. And that's just not how the human brain works, in my uneducated opinion. So even though that sounds like a positive because you can go out there and find other people that are into what you're into, if that's not how our brain works, then is that causing people to be frustrated and angry and depressed and sad and all of those things? Whereas back in the day, if you were into it and you knew you had to hide it, you knew you were doing something sneaky. You knew you were being different. Like for me, that was the thrill of it. I knew I was into things that the masses weren't, that my neighbors might not accept, and that the general public might not accept. But it was cool because it was my thing. It was mine. I didn't want people to accept it. I wanted people to be put off by it if they saw it. Whatever that it is, it doesn't matter. But you knew you were going against the grain, and going against the grain was the excitement that fed your brain. There is no going against the grain anymore. People don't want to go against the grain. They want to be validated. They want their behavior or their actions to be accepted. And they want those things to be celebrated. That's very, very, very different. And I think our brains are wired to find excitement. And when you accept everything, then nothing is taboo anymore. And there's not as much stuff to get excited about. And that's why I think people are so frustrated and angry and depressed and sad today. I'm Dave Cox, and this was episode number 17 of Grinds My Gears.